Hello and welcome. My name is Trismegistus, and today we're going to be reading through and speculating about the latest Factorio Friday Facts. Friday Facts 400, Chart Search and Pins. Posted by Covarex and Clonan. Hello, is it me you're looking for? The UI Search. By Covarex. When it comes to the UI, one of the things we are proud of is the standard search feature in every window where it is even remotely relevant. It all comes nicely together. You stop thinking about it and press the Ctrl F shortcut to search wherever you look for something. But once we got really used to it, we suddenly started to want to search even when not in some window, but just in the game itself. This is combined with the fact that the most frequent question in multiplayer games was, hey, where do we make X please? Especially once planets were added. Which led us to the most obvious complementary feature. The Map Search by Covarex. Why not extend the searching to the whole map as well? We were not sure about what exactly should be searchable, so we just started from the most obvious, the production search. This video is a bit big, so I'll put it in a player, but the caption just says, how could we play without this? So this is just the full video as a single image, and we'll play it through and kind of have a chat about it. Basically, the bit that you want to be looking at is this up here, where they're basically doing Control F and just searching for different things. So initially search for a laser, then they search for a battery, and I think that's it. I think they only do the 2 searches, but it does a thing as you type the keys out, as it does in all the searching, where it finds things as you go. So it's the L letter finds everything with L in it basically. So there's a few interesting things to note about this. The very first is literally at the beginning of the video, which is, I don't know, maybe this is just some way that this dev plays, or there's some particular joke that's going on here perhaps, but this is 2 stops that take in water and output steam, which could be used for coal liquefaction, for example, but it seems a bit over the top in a sense. So I'm kind of wondering, and again, reading far too much into these things, as is my wont, is this something you need to do at bulk scale? Is making steam quite an important thing? I would say there is an image later on that shows that they've got a nuclear setup as well. So this could have been an earlier version, not for putting steam in trains necessarily, but they have a setup that is nuclear power. And so you would kind of think that maybe they would start using the nuclear, because nuclear tends to produce a lot of excess steam, basically, that you can take away. So I would have thought that would be a more efficient way of doing it rather than burning a load of coal. But again, it could just be the way this player likes to play is to have a train with steam on it for when they do coal liquefaction. But it does make me wonder if maybe steam is going to be used in a few other recipes, because then having a dedicated thing that makes lots and lots of steam for you would seem to be sensible. It could also be, I've heard some players like to basically have the actual what do you call them, steam engines, and basically take the steam to them in say an outpost, that you would just deliver a load of steam. But yeah, so it's just interesting that it is a kind of a dedicated steam production area. We then go to the map view. There's not a lot you can, well, there you go, there's your nuclear going on. I would have thought making nuclear that way would be kind of a better way of doing it. There are some odd things on the map, as I say, so it feels like it's maybe a test or experimental or that type of thing. But these are trains here that don't appear to have any link to anything. So they've got a station, and I don't know, they're dropping stuff off maybe, or being filled up, but there's no track connecting them. They're on track, you can see the grey underneath. So again, it feels like maybe this is someone doing some testing and just doing weird and random things, or just messing about with, signals and stuff like that maybe. But it's just a bit strange that there's a bunch of trains here that go nowhere. Oh, but it is also interesting to see this is like the new map view, clearly. And so the surfaces bit is as we suspected. It's, that's how you get at things. And you've got this little button for adding new platforms, and it's, it seems like perhaps the planets will be listed out like we saw on that previous view. So it doesn't look like it's changed that much from that previous view. We can also see the back and forward arrows that we were talking about, those in the previous Friday Facts. So that you can step back through the windows you've had open. Just as a random note, I think this is a set reset latch, so they're clearly doing a lot of switching off and switching on to have a blueprint for it. But yeah, so what they then do, it snaps through it really quickly because they're obviously typing it in, but they bring up the Control F, bring up the thing, they type L, and as I say, it lists out everything with an L in it. There are no things there that you wouldn't expect. You know, you've just got your fairly standard recipes. It does highlight then immediately everything with an L on it in the map. So again, we've got, I believe the yellow blobs effectively indicate what would you call them, assembly machines and maybe chemical plants and that sort of thing. So production machines, which is why it's called a production search. So immediately it said these are all the machines that are producing something that makes an L. So we've got barrels being made for cliff explosives and modules. We've got an L in, green circuits and everything going on there. I couldn't see anything hidden in. There are a couple that are kind of obscured, but you've got lights and steel chests and various things and different science packs, green, blue and yellow sort of thing. They then extend the search slightly and LA, because they're typing lasers, so it then immediately drops down to a much smaller list of things. And then they put the S in, so we get las, which plastic, so that highlights that. It's obviously a really nice bit of functionality to it, in that it's picking out, in a sense, what it thinks, because it actually does a fuzzy search thing, but I think it's going on the volume. So there are 32 plastic bar making machines, so it's highlighted them as the top search in the list, and that's blue, so it's like if you're typing in something and you want it and you get there, it's immediately going there. But it's also moving to the location, so it's saying, right, well, this is the one I think you probably want, based on the number of machines there are, so it takes you there on the map, which is really nice. It does also show, they've also got tags on the map, I believe. I mean, that one's the icon for the machines, but I think these are actual tags on the map as well. I think this station must also have an L in it. They go on to explain that they've added it for stations as well. I guess it must work on symbol then as well, because obviously that station must just have the symbol of a plastic bar in it, which is presumably what this is here, given this is the plastic bar chemical plants. So it must actually do the search based on, the actual icon is plastic bar, so it has plastic bar in it. Yeah, it then goes E for laser, and so it now knows it's searching for laser turret, so it just highlights those. As I say, they've obviously got a bit of spaghetti type build going on here. We've got some roads, I think. This is one of those ones where this looks darker to me than I remember the concrete or something being on the map. I remember it showing it more in a lighter grey colour, so I don't know if that is another type of concrete or material that we're going to get to lay down, a sort of a super fast running one or something like that. Could even be a hint that maybe we're getting decorative type things in the game, but that could very easily be just my bad memory, that it's just, that's just what it shows the concrete as, and I'm just totally remembering it. But so I remember it being slightly lighter, but it could easily not be. So there's all sorts of machines going on, all sorts of trains of different lengths, 2 and 1. So then it zooms in. I couldn't see anything hidden in here. I couldn't see any sort of super secret things, but then as you can see, it's very, very tiny. There could well be something, in one of these chests that, is secretly revealing something, but I can't zoom it in beyond this. I might try and zoom it in on Photoshop or something like that, see if there's anything different. But from an initial glimpse, I couldn't see anything nutty or weird going on. But I say there could well be something like secretly hidden in here. So if you do spot something, you zoom in and let me know what it is. So yeah, so those are the laser turret machines, so they found them. So they then move on to doing another search, looking for batteries, basically. And again, it steps through as they do the B, so it opens up. I'm kind of explaining this partly because there's not going to be a lot in this video. It's quite a simple quality of life one. But it's also interesting to see what we can see as we go through. And as you can see, it's picking out different items, highlighting in yellow the ones that are there. I assume that's blue underneath there because that's the top one it's listing out. We're back to BA, so plastic bars, it thinks maybe. There's quite a lot of barreling going on here as well. So I say it's probably just indicative of how this player likes to play. But it's interesting that heavy oil is being barreled there. They then do the double T, so we get it works out he wants batteries. We can also see some of the icons that we're kind of confirming, I guess, that these are the ones we're going to get. This is the remote view one, and this was it that one that was the new Factoripedia? Other searchable stuff. After the production search, we added a few things that we found useful after playtesting. Firstly, map tags, which merge into one group when they are on top of assemblers of the same type. Train stops, which are forced to be at the end of the list, as in some cases there tends to be a lot of them. So yes, map tags is the current feature we have, where you can add a little icon and some text, etc. to the map. So basically, and it sort of showed that when it was going through that video, that I think it highlighted one of the map tags, but basically it clearly searches through the map tags when you do a search. So if you put something weird, if you put just a description in, and it will kind of show an example of this later. If you put description in of, build more iron here, you could type, iron here, and it will find your one that you were going to work on. It mentions later on that it, and I think it said already that it was really useful for a multiplayer feature, which sounds like it would be, particularly if you had a big multiplayer, like lots of players on it, and you wanted to assign some jobs, that someone could pick up later on, and it's just, build next iron outpost here, and they can just, you can maybe name them, you could put a name on them, sort of saying John do this and Jane do that and what have you, which is a bit like to-do list but kind of built into the game. And so what you could do is basically use that, and then they can search through and they just log on and say, oh well, not got anything interesting to do, I could build my outpost, so search for your name and find it, sort of thing. So it basically extends the functionality of tags quite a bit. And train stops, of course, being able to search through and just find a train stop is going to be really useful. At the moment you do have the train menu, which I think they said they're improving, but basically that's horrible. Finding trains in that is just horrendous. It does have a search in it, but just finding them from the map, just going uranium to find my uranium stop and the trains associated with it will be really useful. We could consider adding more to the search, like the locations of logistic chests containing some items, but we decided not to go down this rabbit hole for now, mainly because it would naturally lead to the need of making all items in containers searchable, and that would become a performance nightmare, not even talking about the possible huge number of spam in the search results. So basically, the point being that that's where they stopped. But they're open to suggestions. If you've got other things they think they could search via the map, etc., then kind of they're willing to hear it. But I would say, I'll be honest, the searching chests would be quite useful, particularly for me. I'm a bit of a one for just ending up with loads of junk. I think I've said this on things before, and I have got out the habit a bit, but I always used to just stick a load of stuff in a chest. When I was building, clearing out trees, I would get there and realise, I got all this rubbish in my inventory, and so I'd stick it in a chest, or several chests, and then get the bots to clear out all the trees, sort of thing. And then I'd realise I'd forgotten something and go back to the base and completely forget about it and realise 10 hours later that half my stuff is in a chest that I don't know where that chest is. So it would be really useful to be able to search that, but it does sound like it would be a performance nightmare, because you're then basically having to table and search every single item in the game, essentially, because everything either lives in a chest or a machine, sort of thing. So yeah. And of course, if you did that, add that in, I mean, it could be toggleable, is one of the things I would say. You could be able to toggle, and that's actually what I would have as a suggestion for the feature, is that you can basically have a little toggle. So when they're searching, that there could be a toggle somewhere that basically says the three types of things you can search is that, the tags, or come to describe it, they've got pins, which is actually what this here, just a spoiler. That's a pin now. It's like a different thing. But you could, flip it to train stops or flip it to boxes, so you wouldn't get the massive list unless you were specifically looking for that thing. Of course, there might be some good ideas of other things we could make searchable. You can let us know. But yeah, so that's kind of where they stopped. And sort of say, being able to search train stops and map tags sounds like a really useful little quality of life improvement, basically. Particularly if you've got a mega base and you don't know where you're making anything after, you spent 100 hours over here doing a load of stuff, and you realise, where the heck are my solar panel building machines? I can't remember. And so being able to just find them sounds super useful. And then thinking about it on different planets, if you're going to be making belts you've decided, right, I'm going to make all my belts on Volcanus and ship them around, then you set that up, and then you go and explore 4 other planets and do entire bits of the games, and then you unlock, you get to the tech that enables you to unlock the level 4 belt, and just, remembering where the heck you put that belt building thing on, Volcanus is going to be really difficult. So you're just being able to search for it and find it. Super easy. I'm kind of overselling a feature that is just blatantly obviously good. But there you go. It's a simple one this week. Pins by Covarex. As we show in the search part, there are these little pins next to the search results, which are the connection to the related feature, the pins. And I'll just show that here. So that again is just this little bit here. That's a pin, basically. The motivation for pins was like, I'm in a big base, I search for an item and try to go there. Halfway there, I kind of lose my place and have to search for it again to keep myself on track. It didn't feel right. If only I could somehow mark the place where I wanted to go. I would say that's particularly useful if you're the sort of player who who uses a power armor and runs about everywhere, or perhaps uses a Spidertron. And I suppose Spidertron's a less good example because you've got the remote, so you could just sit in the Spidertron, find the thing, click the Spidertron there, and off you go. But certainly, I could say if you're driving around by train using or tank and using just manual locomotion as it were running around, or maybe you've got trains but they're nowhere near your central base is like a long way from any train stops, because I tend to go there by train or Spidertron when I've got it, although we know Spider is going to be quite late game now, so that sounds like this is a really good use case for it, in that you search for your bluest science assembly machines, you find them, they're a long way away, you sort of know which direction they are, so you head off in that direction, and then you get, say, halfway there and you realise you don't know where exactly you're going, so you have to search again. So being able to pin them is just like a really neat little touch. So the feature was created, and obviously it is not rocket science, but the devil is in the details. You can pin a search result using the pin button, but there is also a shortcut to pin any position or entity, which is by default Alt right click. Every pin shows you its location on the screen or when off screen. It shows you an arrow at the edge of the screen with the distance to it. This is mainly for when you just want to run towards your destination. Since we don't expect a crazy amount of pins to exist, we added a list of all your pins right under the minimap, where it can be edited or removed. The pin can be edited to change the caption, and you can also decide to not always show the arrow for the pin. This is mainly for cases where you use the pin as more of a long-term bookmark. Okay, so that's all shown in this picture. I'm going to show you a separate one zoomed out. It doesn't have a caption, but you can kind of see them already, what these are. So the first thing is just pinning a research result. As I say, it doesn't really show you that on that other picture, but that's basically what that pin is. So you would do laser trace, you hit a pin, and it just marks it and remembers the location. And then when it's remembering a location, it puts it on this list here. So this is all of the pins you've made. Okay. The second point is that it shows the location on the screen or off screen. So I can't really tell. It says that it shows you on screen, so if you pinned it and you're there, it's presumably got some kind of highlighting. That doesn't appear to be shown on this, or I'm just not understanding what it looks like. What it does show you, though, is that when they're off screen, if you've ever had any of these big alerts, it shows you this gigantic arrow. I'm hoping they've got rid of that, because it's the most ugliest thing I've ever seen. I know why it's big and orange like that, so that it will attract your attention, but I'm hoping it's a bit neater and tidier, because especially these look like nice arrows. So we can get at least them looking like that, even if they're the big huge ones. That'd be great. But basically, this is what it's talking about, showing you off screen. Now, interestingly, it shows it's adding this distance. So it's saying that the My Spider, which is the pin here, the Setup Oil, which is that pin there, and the cleanup nests are all highlighted, and it shows you a distance, which is kind of finally giving a distance to, a size to things. It's always been there, but they're like explicitly saying what a meter is now, which is interesting. But yeah, you can see these distances are quite useful, I think, because it kind of shows you, particularly, this, I think, is going to be my mainstay for this feature. Because if you've ever seen any of my streams, I just lose my car and my tank all the time. And so having something where I can just have a little arrow on the screen all the time saying me, that's where your car is, that's where your car is, that's where your car is going to be massively useful. Yeah, so they've also got this list. As I say, this is the list of the pins. I think it is unlimited, I think is what they're saying from what the description is, that you can have as many as you really want. But you're probably not going to. You're just going to have a few. And it is interesting how they're using them on these. We'll come back to that in a sec. Oh, and obviously you can just remove the pin. You can edit the pin, which is, as I say, interesting. I don't know if you were to click on it, I don't know if it would take you to where it is. That would be quite useful. If you just click, so when it says nuclear reactor, click on it and it actually shows you it. Particularly this thing, clean up nests, going there and seeing how many biters have spawned type of thing would be quite useful. Or like that Setup Oil, clicking on that and going, right, how many pump checks do I need? Clicking on that, I need 17 pump checks. That'd be very useful. So yeah, so the other element to it is that it's editable. It doesn't show the pop-up for the editing, which is this here, but it sounds like you can turn the arrow off, and several of these obviously don't have arrows. You know, main base, nuclear reactor, etc. don't have arrows on them. But also, you can edit what it says. So my spider is basically identifying that this is mine, and if it's multiplayer, then, you know, you can maybe tag out other people's. It does say you can pin people, and you can pin, you know, basically anything. So being able to identify, well, that's where these 4 players' spiders are, and these where the players are, and all that sort of stuff could be quite useful, particularly if you had maybe a troublemaker in a server, or someone you suspected, because it goes on to explain that this is an individual feature. No one else can see your pins. So be able to, if there's a player you thought was up to no good, then you could just pin them and keep an eye on them. But yes, basically it allows you to edit the text, so you can say it's my spider, and that's where this is coming in, because that's obviously been pinned, but with an instruction. This is why I'm pinning it, because I need to clean up these next. Oh, that's my next job. You know, go and out that one. You know, set up oil. That's my next job. The other thing, the elephant in the room, is this here. Now, I'm assuming, because there's been stuff on the Reddit where people have decoded the blurs. So my assumption is that this is both something they don't want to reveal yet, but also that they probably, you know, put some little joke in here, because they did it on like the noise one. They hid some text in the noise, and they had a deblur thing, which basically, I can't remember what it deblurred to, but it was just like a joke, basically. You know, it was a little gag, because they'd realised people had done that. So I'm assuming they've done the same here, and that it's, you know, you deblur it, and I mean, it's a really weird colour, that. It's like a turquoise, and it's a strange sort of shape, if you intuit that it's probably some kind of reverse triangle. So I won't be surprised if it's an icon from another game or something like that, and it just says, you know, something silly. But it's clearly covering over something that they don't want us to see. Stupidly obvious thing to say, but it's obviously doing it, and I would assume they've covered it over and then deblurred it, if you see what I mean. Or then blurred it. But I mean, I don't do these having read the Reddit. I literally read them through, and then these videos, and then, you know, record the video, and then go and look at what other people are doing, because it takes me so long to edit them that basically you can't really look at all the other speculation other people have gone through. So I'm guessing there's probably something on the Reddit saying what it is. So, or if you've got any theories as to what it might be, then let me know in the comments. But I think it's a replacement. You know, they've replaced something we're not supposed to see with something they've then blurred. Do you see what I mean? So we're not going to find anything else out there, but you never know. The most typical usages of the pins. You just temporarily pin something, possibly a search result, to run there. You pin something as a reminder of what you need to do next. You pin your car or Spidertron so you can find it. That's going to be massively useful for me. You pin your friends in a multiplayer game so you always know their location. When you die, it automatically pins the location of your corpse so you actually can find it. Very useful. But we have tags and pins. Isn't this too much? It might seem a little bit too confusing to have map tags, pings, and also pins, but I still believe that all of them should exist at the same time, as they have their own use cases. Map tags are shared between everyone on the map, and are meant as a persistent marker of some position, so everyone can see those, basically. Pings are a very temporary way to show a place to someone in a multiplayer game. So yeah, you use them literally as a, where was that oil, or where is that attack coming from, or you said you saw some nests or something like that, and so you just ping, this is where it is. Or there's 4 iron patches, which one do you want me to do? Ping 1. So yeah, so that's the type of thing you use pinging for. Pins are unique for each player, and each player can choose what they find important. What it's explaining basically is that pins are effectively like a sort of a sub-tag system. So they do act as a tag, but you know, you can have as many pins and different pins and types of pins as you want, and you're not cluttering up anybody else's game, which is a really nice sort of subdivision, because I can go in and pin all my, you know, pin my car and pin my Spidertron and all that sort of stuff so I don't lose them, and nobody else has to see that on the map unless they really want to pin my car as well. But yeah, so having your own set, your own little functionality is really good, and especially combined with the searching, because if you think about it, if I want to know where all of those laser assemblers are, sort of thing, and I just want to do that immediately all the time because I'm doing defences and, you know, they're going into a box in that location, pinning that location for me is going to be really useful, but for everybody else it's just like, that would just be noise. Why would you want to do that? And at the moment you have to put a tag on, and of course everyone can see that tag, and so the map just becomes cluttered. I say I'm massively over-egging this one. There isn't a lot to it, but I've got into the habit of just blathering on and on and on, so apologies if this is a bit sort of gilding the lily, but there you go. New Alerts GUI by Clonan. The old alert system was quite simple, and for its simplicity, it was functional enough. If you click the flashing alert slot, it would open the map at the most important alert. However, with Space Age, as with all things, we need to go further. Opening the map on a random planet when you click an alert isn't that useful. You might not care about some wall damage on Nalvis, but your space platform being smashed apart is quite a different story. So yeah, interesting that mentions space platforms being smashed apart. We always knew that they could get damaged by asteroids, so the obvious answer there is that it's crashing into an asteroid field, basically, or a particularly dense area of asteroids. Now, that could mean two things: that asteroids do have a density; they're not just a sort of continuous thing. That there's particular areas where there are lots of more asteroids and lots of bigger asteroids that you might have problems with. The other thing it could be alerting to you, of course, is that you've run out of ammo. So your platform is defended by gun turrets and it's just run out of ammo and it's getting pummeled by all these asteroids. So yeah, those are the most obvious answers. The other one that could be a possibility is that there are space threats. So there's some kind of space bug, basically, space alien, space biter, and that can actually attack your platforms. I don't think that'll be the case. That's just, it'd be quite fun, I think, to have roving bands of, space aliens eating your platforms, basically. Well, I say fun. It'd be problematic, I'm sure, but yeah. Now, when you click on an alert slot, it will open the new alerts overview. And here it is. This is the new interface. You've obviously got Nalvis and Volgora shown. So basically, when you click the icon, it actually opens this GUI. So it's actually telling you what it is, allowing you to pin it again. So that's presumably where that take nests out and that sort of thing has come from, that they've pinned something from the alert view. And basically, I assume, well, for one thing, it's showing you a drop down of telling you what it is. So if it's something important, of course, you can prioritize it, pin it maybe, and just sort it out straight away. But like this 104 item missing material construction, I bet that's probably like a load of concrete or something like that, or maybe a bunch of solar panels, and it's like, well, yeah, I know, but I don't really care. But if you see up the red icon, or you're playing on a death world and there are loads and loads of attacks coming in, this is going to let you prioritize between them and pick ones you want to do. You need to go and actually rebuild this area or fix this one, which is the most prioritized. So yeah, and those I assume correspond to the arrows. There's nothing showing the new arrow sort of thing. I'm hoping we get a new arrow, but basically this is sort of showing you where it would have like the 5 arrows or something. These are, I assume, the meaning of each arrow just in a nice little menu. The list of items is separated by planet, and clicking an item will take you to the location on the map. There is also the button to pin the alert, so you can utilise the pins feature as mentioned before. The alerts are still segregated by category, so things like missing materials and damage alerts show us separate alert slots, as it is now. As always, pin your thoughts at the usual places. Okay, speculation then. What the heck have I got to speculation about that I haven't already covered? This Steam thing is interesting. I think it's probably just a quirk of how that person plays, but it's interesting that it is set up as a proper Steam producing area. I say presumably for coal liquefaction is my guess, but it is strange. Nice to see the new icon here as well, the sleeping train as it's waiting for a stop to open, so it's clearly got nowhere to go. I think I covered most of the things. There is one little extra thing on the icon for the blog post itself, which shows this here. So this is a lightning symbol, and I don't recognise it. Let me know if it is just in the game at the moment, but I think that's a new symbol, and I think that symbolises a lightning strike on one of your buildings. I think that's the new alert symbol. We might have seen it, might we, and I've just not realised, but I think, that's the Fulgora, your stuff has been hit by lightning strike, because otherwise you would just show it as needs repair or under attack, but if it's lightning, it's not really under attack, is it? So I think that's a new icon showing. I mean, it could be anything. It could be saying that it's receiving a lightning strike, but it's not able to capture the lightning or something like that. It could be that meaning that, but I think it might be your building's just been hit by lightning. So yeah, I didn't really have anything else. Overall, I think it's a really nice couple of quality of life improvements. As I say, if you've ever seen any of my live streams, and they're not the most interesting live streams, so I don't blame you if you're not bothered, but I'm just constantly losing my car. If I'm not saying, you know, where's my car? What have I done with my car? Every 5 minutes, then, you know, it's not far off. But yeah, a really nice little feature. And I think one I will probably use a lot. I always like the concept of tags, although they did mention now that you're going to be able to edit them and move them and stuff like that, can't you? Which, you know, at the moment you can't do that. So basically you put a tag on it, and if you realise you put it in slightly the wrong place, so you want to move it, you actually got to delete it and put it back again. And so, you know, ability to move tags, I think, might kind of answer some of the problems I've had with them. But this sounds really nice, especially you've got a gigantic base, and you've got 4 gigantic bases on 4 different planets, and then a lot of them are making the same stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And so being able to search through and then pin the one that you want is going to be really nice. I do sometimes wonder it, because I mentioned before on these, this is just a random thought at the very end, but I have mentioned about going through other people's speculation, because, you know, you're all very kind and you leave comments on the videos with your own ideas and stuff, and it's lovely to go through them. But I wonder about on these quieter ones, shall we say, on the ones that are more about quality of life and things like that, which is always awesome to have, but there's not a lot I can speculate about. So I did sometimes wonder about maybe picking some of those out and, you know, basically talking about some of your ideas that you've had, because I did mention about doing that as a video, but it would take so much effort to do. I'm not sure it's kind of worth doing as a separate thing, but maybe I could go back and look up the previous Friday Facts and see what people's comments were on these, but I don't know if people would be interested in that. It would be more of the speculation, which I've had mixed feedback, actually. This is just going into random dribbling territory now, isn't it? So please do feel free to log off, but I've had sort of the double feedback of, like, you know, because I read them out, and some people have, you know, commented that they can read themselves. They don't need me to read out the video, and that what they're here for is kind of the speculation stuff. And of course, in this, there isn't a lot of speculation I can do. You know, there's clearly, you know, there's something here. What the hell could it be? I don't, without running through the old AI process of working out, you know, what words could this be, sort of thing. You know, I've no way of guessing. It's just such a random colour blob as an icon. I don't know. But yes, so but then other people have actually said, I quite like you reading them out, because then I don't have to bother reading it myself, sort of thing. So I'm going to keep doing that, and it also fits my flow a bit better of this whole thing of speculating as I go that I do now. I think is way better and easier for me, basically. But yes, I'd love to know if you want me to just, you know, talk about other people's thoughts, basically, and, you know, bring up the previous video, you know, the comments and stuff, and run through those when we've got one that doesn't lend itself as well to speculation, even though it's clearly a feature I'm going to use a lot, this one. I hope you enjoyed today's Friday Facts video and might consider coming back for another one. If you want to chat about the latest Factorio Friday Facts, you can find me live streaming Factorio every Saturday on my Twitch channel, Logistic. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Hello, is it me you're looking for?